Hello everyone and welcome to my short video presentation for my data analyst internship at Mentorness. My name is Aryan Bhoraskar and the topic for my presentation and task was the National Rural Employment Guarantee Act analysis. The Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Act, or NREGA for short, is a government bill that was passed in 2005 that guarantees the right to work for the citizens of India. The scheme guarantees a minimum of 100 days of paid labor to rural and socially stricken communities while also fostering feelings of communal development and self-sustainability. Such a vast claim must be analyzed deeply and with a neutral eye to truly grasp its success and drawbacks. Hence, NREGA is a vital initiative to alleviate rural unemployment and poverty. However, this project seeks to address several key questions and challenges that were associated with NREGA. Mainly, how effective it was to provide employment opportunities in rural households. Number two, are there any regional disparities in the implementations and outcomes of this scheme? Number three, what was the utilization of the allocated budget and does it correlate with the employment generation? Number four, what are the key factors that contribute to the completion of the work and are there any roadblocks to success? And number five, and most importantly, can data driven insights truly guide policymakers and administrators in optimizing the scheme's impact? Let us find out. First, let us look into the dataset information. The dataset used for this analysis is sourced from official government records and contains information related to NREGA implementation across various states and districts in India. It comprises of 28 columns encompassing data on job cards, worker details, budget allocation, work completion statistics, expenditure, and more. This dataset offers a comprehensive overview of the progress as well as challenges faced by this policy. Let's take a look. The first question we can answer is the fact that how effective was NREGA in providing employment to rural households. Friends, while looking at the colored map of India and the image next to it, it is easy to assume that NREGA, while its claims were vast, was achieved in its implementation. Because simply looking at the statistics of Maharashtra alone, having a total household working of 1.5 million, while also having a total number of active workers of 9.3 million is impressive. Now, even though it's quite impressive, performing such a superficial analysis is the biggest mistake any data analyst can make. Hence, it is ardent that we dive deeper. So, let's look further deeper into this pothole. Looking for any regional disparities, we can see that on this slide, there is a graph of total wage of laborers in lakhs of rupees versus the approved labor budget. All the states above the dotted line on this graph showcase a strong wage to budget ratio, while all those states below the line showcase a poor wage to budget ratio. Hence, NREGA was not clearly as bulletproof as we all thought it was. As you can see, states like Maharashtra, where the disparity is so vast, you also have states like Tamil Nadu, which have a not so disappointing disparity, and the ratio is quite justifiable. Hence, we must look further into why NREGA was so disparative. Looking into the overall budget allocation, we can see that this sheet on the left provides a state-wise distribution of the allocated budget into several categories such as labor wages, total administration expenditure, total expenses, etc. Further diving deep, we can analyze this further. One of the main case studies that we can pick up from this data set, which I have picked up from this data set, is the average wage versus average person day for the SC community. Friends, this will help us provide a key insight into NREGA's workings and how successfully was it implemented and whether or not the rules and regulations were followed by the government officials. Friends, the average working day or the average person day is defined as a unit of work that is considered when considering the work done by a laborer in a unit of time, which is usually 1 day of work. In terms of effective employment generation and fair pay, let us take a look at this graph, shall we? This graph showcases that the highest average pay to person day ratio was seen in Manipur, which was a shocking 1025 to 1246. Now, what does this mean? This means that the average laborer in Manipur was paid a shocking 1025 rupees for 1246 units of work in 1 day. Sadly, this ratio only gets bad to worse when we look at some other states and their statistics. Like in Tamil Nadu, the average wage was 254 rupees, while the average person day ratio was 1.8 million units of work. Similarly, in Rajasthan, you had the average wage being 210 rupees, while the average person day was 1 million. In Punjab, you had the average wage of 302 rupees, whereas the average person day unit of work was 543,000. Friends, this is no way fair to the laborers that have worked their lives to earn this money. Hence, we must dive further as to what were the drawbacks in terms of the policy implementation. For example, what were the key success factors and what were the roadblocks that occurred in the policy implementation? Certain key factors that we can keep in mind as to why the policy worked was, the first thing was the people's motivation to work and sustain themselves. When faced with a dire situation of helplessness and no one to help you, you often tend to find ways out of that predicament yourself. And hence, laborers and troubled communities were striving to figure out a way to dig themselves out of the plot hole that they had found themselves into. The second key factor was the cooperation and honest work done by the government officials involved in the starting years. And number three, there was a lack of tight monopoly over the budget by corrupt politicians. On the flip side, let us look at certain roadblocks that were later on encountered. The most important of which was the fact that the rise of corruption amongst government officials. This is not only seen in the case of NREGA, but in various other government policies, whether it be the 2G scam or any other scam that have been encountered in the history of India and its politics. Another sort of roadblock that you can sort of visualize from the previous slide was the fact that the workers were never really compensated for their work or the time and effort that they put in. The compensation never achieved on time and never was it fair, as relevant by the previous slide. Another sort of case study that we can perform as to why NREGA failed was performing an analysis of the documentation work that occurred during NREGA's time. What documentation work, you might ask? Well, friends, I'm talking about the total job cards versus the total number of active workers per state. Friends, any state you see above the state line showcases a good job card to active worker ratio. What does this mean, you may ask? Well, this just means that all workers that are currently working in the state are accounted for in this policy, are clearly documented, meaning each and every information regarding their livelihood, their workplace, their names, etc. are well documented and stored. And hence, it is important that this ratio be above the line, as this indicates that the workers are taken care of under the policy, and that their rights are well documented and taken care of. On the flip side, any state that you see below the straight line showcases a poor job card to active worker ratio. This means that there are less number of job cards issued in the state when compared to the actual number of people working. What does this mean, you may ask? This just means that a lot of people are unjustly exploited for their work, and there is no one to hold accountable the different government officials and landlords who offer this work, simply because there is no documentation for that laborer. This means that the laborer is exploited till their last breath, till their last drop of sweat, for a meager 100, 200 rupees. Now, another key factor or another key question that people can ask is, can data-driven insights truly guide policymakers and administrators in optimizing any scheme's impact? Well, friends, the clear answer is yes, because it has been observed that data regarding these government schemes is often mishandled, tampered, or even lost due to poor handling. Now, what are the implications of such poor mismanagement? Well, this can lead to severe loss of time and energy in recovering that data and also documenting that data again, along with negative side effects such as unaccountability amongst government officials because no one is holding them accountable, surging in the feelings of mistrust amongst people towards the government. This is the downfall of democracy, because if people do not trust their government, then the country can collapse overnight. And also, loss of public image in the international front. Internationally, failures of such schemes can raise objectionable questions over the country, not only by the country's allies, but by the country's enemies, which can be taken advantage of by anyone. Hence, it is important to have any government-related scheme scrutinized under the public eye, and very crucially scrutinized, for that matter, to ensure that the data is speaking for itself and that there is 100% accountability for the government officials. Well, friends, I thank you for listening to the short video presentation, and I hope you can derive some key insights as to why NREGA failed during its time. Friends, I also urge you to perform your own analysis, as performing your own analysis can help you derive and understand NREGA on a deeper level. Not only NREGA, but any government scheme and policy can be scrutinized in such a way to have a deeper understanding for it. Thank you.